Today is September 11th, remembrance of 9/11. So, as in saying that, I want to first give my condolences because me personally, I would forget, not saying the severity of the lives that were lost. I don't acknowledge, but my life is filled with so much turmoil and shifty and so many things that make me kind of not lost in my own world, but engulfed in my own situation. So, as in saying that, let me just take the time to say thank you for the lives that served, the people who freed those people. Thank you to the souls that were able to find enlightenment during that horrible situation. I would say because lives were lost, I don't want to speak on the situation. I know a lot of people will speak on it from different aspects. I would just say thank you for those people who did serve. Thank you for those who made it. Thank you for those who endured that situation. And overall, I just want to say I've been growing a lot, and instead of doing these talking sense of these talking Path Sevens, I've been just working on myself and just kind of learning how to just sit still and be quiet for about like an hour to 30 minutes and kind of letting the work do itself. So where I am now, I'm just kind of still figuring it out, still putting everything in perspective. Um, I'm starting to learn more during different times of the year, different seasons. That when the sun is going through feminine mutable signs, it's harder for me to remain in that masculine aspect of not seeing through a masculine lens, but how do you really say it? Because only those who have been initiated would understand. So it's something where you have to be able to have an open perspective and mind state to the point where you can take on different perspectives without letting those perspectives shake you up in who you are. So as it's saying that, right now there's times where I can see the system like pushing back against me because they like when I'm in a more passive state, because when I'm passive no one's actually, how do you say it, no one's actually not, I wouldn't say pushing the tempo, but no one's holding people to that level of growth. Everybody's setting the bar so low that when you actually raise it, people are like, I don't want to do all that work. It's not that it's new work. It's a simple aspect of the old way of perceiving reality, the old way of living in reality is at this point not docile, but it's already a beaten path to the point where you need somebody who is going to go out and kind of try to find something new, find new perspective, because everything's never what it seems to be, and everything what was is not what is, because life is ever changing. So as in that aspect, you have to be able to just keep changing who you are, and as you're changing who you are, you'll see things from the right aspect of knowing that you aren't who you think you are. Who you think you are is only temporary, because growth is the only thing that you have to perceive upon your path. The path is one of, it's not linear. The more you look at it as linear, the more you'll have a space of, you'll be in a space of trying to move forward where you're just spiraling upwards. And when you're understanding that you're moving outward in no other space but outward, it'll make it easier for you to look at the path in a spiral instead of linear. Because if you think linear, you're thinking you're taking like two steps forward, but you're actually not taking steps forward. You're only ascending your own level of consciousness, so you can perceive higher and higher aspects that most people can't see from. And it's not about the person who reads the most books, it's about the person who can allow life to be what is. So the universe, which is also you, this infinite library, this infinite source of knowledge, is also going to be able to enlighten you to what's going on. And one of the things that I have been really starting to perceive is that reality, life itself is an ocean. Consciousness is as vast as you want it to be, but you have to get past those intimidating heights that most people don't want to ascend towards, or those ever engulfing depths of darkness that most people aren't going to go down, because darkness is the true essence of light. and you get the knowledge from transmuting that darkness so you can bring that to light. But you have to go through the darkness because the darkness is what is. The darkness is the only thing that's definite. Everything else is temporary. Everything in life is darkness. So when you're going through a dark path or a dark time, there's no such thing as darkness. Just I'm in a space of growth. It's not I've been buried. You're always going to be buried because you're always coming to light. You're always going through a situation where you're learning things that you are going to have to perceive. No one can perceive these things but you. It's up to you to do the work. No one can do the work for you. I mean, people will always assist you upon the path, but the path is yours to actually to figure out. I mean, once you do the work, you'll understand, and once you start the path, you won't have to look for anybody to help you because you'll notice that it's you bringing yourself to more levels of consciousness. It's no one else but you upon the path. And once you understand that, you'll see everybody else as an aspect of self. So you're not the only person in saffron robes. You're the only person who has understood that you can take the robe off and actually ascend even higher, because the robe is still another aspect of the ego trying to dress itself up as someone who's detached. When you don't want to detach, you want to be in a state of acceptance. But detachment is a great way to lose upon, to let go of the world's engulfing or everlasting, ever encompassing way of putting wounds on you that you will heal, and they'll come back and they'll redress themselves as different wounds. But that's what brings you back to that same spiral. Inside that spiral, it's how do you put that spiral in certain spaces in which you're figuring out how to put that spiral in a space where it makes sense, but it's not something that you're getting. What's the word I'm looking for? You're going to seem as if you're scared to keep going on the path because you're not seeing growth. You're plateauing, but there's no state of plateauing. There's uploading and downloading. So when you're in darkness, you're uploading. You're uploading everything from your root to your crown, and where you're downloading, you're coming from crown down to root. So it's not a bad thing. It's just how much can you stay in an uncomfortable situation. It's not that you're running or leaving the situation, but you're finding that the situation that was supposed to be a situation of growth becomes a situation of complacency. And because other people have already reached their heights, they're like, why would you go past my heights when that's my comfortability? I like to be comfortable there. But that comfort space is someone else's prison. That's why the mind becomes a prison, because if you're not leaping to other bounds that are above other people's standards, then other people's standards are going to become your plateau. So your plateau can only be placed upon the growth that you're willing to go through, the pains that you're willing to engulf, the things that you have to go through to get to these spaces that you're trying to go towards. And then none of this is scripted. This is really me I just had to go through a space where I'm trying to get more rest, but how do you get rest in this period where capitalism is always going to consume you to want to do more, to want you to keep leveling up? And on the true leveling up is understanding that you don't need anything. All you need is self. And the more work you do with self, the more you can accumulate the knowledge to where you're trying to go, and not where you are. Where you are is in a place of just a plateau. Everything up to now has been a plateau. So as we keep growing, we'll as a unit, as a collective, get forward. There's no such thing as color. Color is a thing that makes us docile to situations in which we should be at a space where we're tired of dealing with. It's another boundary that other people aren't trying to let go of. So how can a world that is a globe how does a globe with only ley lines have borders and boundaries? That means at some point someone saw the marketability or their humanity or their ego came in and said, I need to block all this off because all this is mine. Where how do you say this is mine? You don't own the tree, you don't own the land, you don't own the soil, but you can deteriorate that soil or the pH level of that soil so nothing can grow in certain areas, so certain souls can't ascend past certain levels because they're not getting the light codes into what it is. And that's another thing that I wanted to speak on. To be a king, it's not what people think it is. Being a king is a thing where it's something you're learning, you're growing. And being a king is not just having all the women, having all the clothes, having all the material things. It's knowing that it's literally you are the not the top dog, but you are the soil. You are the fruit that people need to consume to learn and grow. And that's something that was so hard for me because it was like I thought the king came with the money, the cachet of all the things that I thought it was. But it's not that. What it actually is you understand that you are the fruit and you have to be the thing that people have to consume. So it's not oh the serpent ate the person the fruit. No, the serpent was you. The serpent was you aligning from your animalistic state, coming to your human consciousness and coming to a state of like, yo, I'm not naked, but I'm unarmed to the environment that I'm in. So once you understand that you're unarmed to the environment you're in, what do? You combat yourself and you prepare yourself for what's going on around you. You're not going to go through any kind of situation naked and unarmed. You're going to figure it out. But once you start arming yourself, that's when your mind is going to create situations in certain scenarios in which you need to like create a fight or flight situation. Your mind is the enemy. Your mind is going to create problems for you. Your mind is going to create situations in which you have to. Your mind is going to create problems. It's your job to not let the mind do that and just be the observer of the experience. The more you can be the observer of the experience, the easier it is for you to. The easier it is for you to let go of the standpoint of I know all this is a certain way. You can accept like, okay, consciousness is ever evolving. As consciousness is ever evolving, why would I bring a space where I'm hurting myself by putting labels and certain expectations on things when expectations is the only way that I see things, because that same expectation is going to be what it is to create those same plateaus. So like I said, that a king is just the fruit for what people need the knowledge from. Now the queen, I can't put in terms for what the queen is because the woman is always supposed to use her intuition to lead and guide others. But that intuition is dangerous because once you're going through darkness and you're trying to perceive something that's not there, there's so many, like while people are painting, while people are doing things, like they're always are going to say spirits and other entities and things like that are going to deter you from God. And that's why I say life is Vegas, because life is just a robe. Life is just a place with a whole bunch of distractions. And Disney World is what? It's supposed to be the child's playground. But the playground is still what? A territorial for what God and the quote unquote the devil does their thing. When there actually is no God or devil, it's only self. Are you aligning with your animalistic state, or are you honoring that animalistic state and allowing that intuition instead of the instinct to take over? Because instinct is lower tier, but instinct is something that was taught by man. Intuition was given by God to man, and that is the fire for what Prometheus brings in. So it's interesting in knowing what is needed to stay present in the moment, and then like actually build the temple that you're trying to build, because you're looking for like outward temples. You need to build the inward temple, and the more you bring the inward temple back into space, then you can worry about all the material things. But you should not own a material thing until your temple is inapproachable. It cannot be sank. It cannot be taken from you. But as I'm saying that, as people are watching, they'll find ways to break upon your temple. Now understanding that there is no temple outside of yours, because so many people are benefiting from you, because it's not about you, it's about I. Not I as the possession, as the owner, but EYE, consciousness. Consciousness is what always needs to be ascended. And as consciousness is ascended, then we can reach a state of being relatable to each other and helping each other get to where we're trying to go to. Because the more we use these two eyes, the more these two eyes are going to always create more situations upon which we can't find where we're trying to be led towards, or the door that we're trying to exit through. So it takes time. A lot of people are trying to do things in a certain aspect of which I'm saying, be patient, wait for things to unfold. You can't rush God to work. That's something no one can do. No man, no woman can rush God to work. You can be the mediator between you and another man, but you can't be a mediator between someone else and God. And that is what's interesting, because a lot of people are playing God's role in situations where God is something that I'm learning during mutable seasons. God is so busy helping so many other people that you can't expect God to house. You can't house God during mutable seasons. Definitely during like a cardinal season, which is Aries, Cancer, Capricorn, and Libra. Those are great times to like initiate. And during those initiating periods is great for, I would say that's the best time for to be led by instinct, because instinct is there, but the intuition isn't there because those signs are still like mostly still in an animalistic state. Now, most fixed signs, I want to say, have the chance to ascend past that and go back into the intuition because they can fixate on how to perceive things a certain way. So not to go that deep into astrology because that's not really my level, that's not my science. And I'm not into Scientology, but I'm someone who's trying to understand all things. So when people ask me for something, I can give them the best answer from my state of that, my state of emotion at that time. Because we're ruled by what? Our emotions. Emotions are what empowers people. But to get past that and live in the state of no mind, that is the path of enlightenment. And what is the path of no mind? There was a time where I could really like feel my brain. I felt so much of the body until I understood that it was a place that I ascended through a lot of breath work, through a lot of meditation, a lot of crystals or whatever. A lot of when I was deep into my metaphysical, my path, instead of my path of just looking for enlightenment. And as soon as I started looking for enlightenment, everything became easy because it was less of me trying to instill upon how much knowledge that I was accumulating upon my path, and it became more of what can I honor in the moment to help me grow as far as I need to go. So that in itself is one of the things in which you need to always be in a state of understanding, because as you're understanding these things, it'll be easier for you to understand that life is always encompassing upon your emotional state at the time. So once you heal that emotional state, then you can get to places where you're trying to go. But if you're so deep into that emotional state, then it's going to be harder and harder for you to evolve past things that other people are trying to place upon you. And there's a really earthly thing going on right now, and people are trying to like create this artificial heaven and hell, which they're just state of the mind. So if you can interrupt somebody's state of mind and then create a hell for them, that means you're working for who? Who are you working for? You know what I mean? That's why I tell you, a lot of people are still stuck in certain aspects of the lower mind. They feel like they can control other people. You don't want to control other people, because that's something that I used to do. Because, yeah, I think I've been going through a lot of astral manipulation, mental attacks since I was a child. Because when I came into this body at full consciousness as a child, I kind of perceive things from a higher perspective. So now that I see that people like it's not to say that I didn't have the aspect of the no mind, but I was in a family that, how can you say it? They had the metaphysics, but they didn't have the enlightenment. They didn't have the inner fire that I have now. So that inner fire is such a beautiful thing, because it's like, it takes that plus life experience to bring you to where you're trying to go. And that life experience is such a beautiful thing, because once you can marinate in that life experience, and you can take that masculine and feminine aspect, and you can entwine them and actually do the breath work with it, that's where you can come to the place that you're trying to move towards. And that's when life becomes what it's supposed to become. And that's difficult, because when someone is creating or someone is affecting your sacral space, which is your creative energy, your prana, then you have a space where someone else is creating from your subconscious, like wounds and things that open you up to to what is supposed to be the true God essence, which is that sacred energy, which is what makes women and men so powerful. Your sexual energy, your ability to find stability and balance within that sacred fire. And this is it. What I'm learning is people are trying to always keep me in this it's not childish, but this joking energy, so they can call me like a jokester spirit. But the thing is, we all have a jokester spirit. Like, why don't you engage in yours? Because that means that you still have an inner child that you haven't healed. And once you heal that inner child, all the sacred energy that you're trying to find space for, it's not a battle anymore. It's just I won the fight for my inner child, you know? So after you fight, you win the fight for your inner child. At that point, you integrate that with the divine feminine, which is that masculine and feminine. I can't just say one half of it, but that dance between the masculine and feminine, which climbs the spine, and you have that Kundalini experience. And the first thing about the Kundalini experience is not bed bugs. It's you feel like there's things crawling on your skin, because those are ascension symptoms, and they change ascension symptoms into coronavirus. So if everybody's living from a space of coronavirus, and you're shutting down your Kundalini experience, how can your soul actually become more? How can your soul grow? You know, how can your soul be released upon the things that kept it on the plateau? And upon that plateau, it's what are you going to do to break that? Not that discipline with that norm of your day-to-day basis, but what upon your meditation is going to help you get there? It's not bad to drink weed or drink alcohol. It's not bad to smoke weed. It's the level of balance that you need between drunkenness and enlightenment. And that's what makes sages so needed. That's what makes the shaman so needed. Because if they can help your experience, then your experience becomes something that you can gravitate towards. So what are you going to do, you know? Are you going to gravitate towards that, or are you going to keep waiting? And something that I'm realizing is, even if you play the game, and because for my situation right now, I'm not working right now, and I could get unemployment, but I'm not in the perfect living situation, and I'm not mentally disabled or physically disabled to not work. Working is something that we all have to do as the masses, not a caste system, but as in trying to find, that experience that lifts us from our instincts so we can live in our intuition. That is what is needed. So it's interesting, because you have to be able to detach from that. You have to be able to detach from that instinct and live in that intuition. This is our first day back to it, so I'm going to say Anu out. I'm going to sit and meditate for a little bit, but thank you for this experience. I really appreciate it. I'm going to get back to it, and let's keep climbing.